was a long road from the first idea to the film to where we are now. Yeah, it goes way back. Erica Schmidt, the writer, she was commissioned by a theater company to do a adaptation of Cyrano by Rostand, and she always loved the original story. But what the tricky thing is for a modern audience, the original play by Rostand, it's very long and it's filled with incredibly long speeches. That was Erica's real big hurdle, and she did an incredible job at it. What if all those speeches were songs? Because I think everybody can relate to a love song. Sort of the story of Cyrano has so much in common with what is happening today because of that, because of the detachment that he has to this person, which basically he's texting her, but it's letter writing, but it's basically texting her, which everybody does now. Even I'm doing that. I'm like, no, and let alone, I don't spend time as much with my friends anymore because you feel like, sorry, now I'm on like an internet pedestal of like, but you just assume you've hung out with them because you've been texting them all day, but you kind of haven't. And that's exactly like the Cyrano situation. There's very, very little interaction between Roxanne and Cyrano. Erica originally didn't write it for me and my size. I think the point of it is anybody could play Cyrano. I'm doing it because, yes, I do have a built-in difference that I could relate to in terms of like feeling less than the person you love or feeling unworthy. But I think what the movie speaks to is everybody knows that feeling, not people who are physically different or whatever that would set us apart, because we're all set apart from each other. So it's a thing that we all struggle with, hopefully, because that also can give you a sense of humor about things. And I think that's what Cyrano also does have. He has a sense of humor about himself at the same time. But his Achilles heel is this thing with Roxanne and how he doesn't really fully believe he can be loved by her. Christian is played by Kelvin Harrison, who we struck gold finding him. I saw this movie Waves that he did a few years back, and I just said, who is that guy? He's so beautiful inside and out, and he can sing. But we had just such a good time making that film, and he really just tapped into what I was talking about earlier about he has this super intelligence playing Christian, but just is like tongue-tied with the girl he loves. So it worked out beautifully. And that's its own like separate love story in the film, I think, Christian and Cyrano, because they start off as competitors and it just turns into a real love story between the two of them in many ways. Because she's such a free spirit. And in a time when women weren't allowed to be intellectuals as much as the men were, she doesn't have any of that. She carves her own path, and she loves poetry. She loves the written word, and that's what really bonds Cyrano and Roxanne together. She holds salon poetry readings that she hosts, and she's very, very intelligent. De Guiche is our, for lack of a better word, villain of the piece. And I think he's only villainous because he is a competitor for the affection of Roxanne. He's he's a military man that's probably never picked up a gun in his life, one of those guys who isn't on the field with the men, so therefore he doesn't have the respect of the men, unlike Cyrano, who is down in the trenches with them. And he's played by Ben Mendelsohn, who I hadn't known before this movie, but I was probably his #1 fan. And he's so fun to watch, but he's never up in the clouds. He's right there with you, hearing everything you're saying, and that's the real gift of an actor like that. And he makes villainy fun. He makes life fun. That's all credit to Eunice Huthbart and Paul Lowy, my hands-on stunt swordsman, and like Eunice is just I mean, she's so good. But that was the thing with Cyrano. He has this reputation of being the greatest swordsman, so you can't cheat that. And we didn't want to do any CGI or any doubling. I didn't want to double. So I love learning new things, and we went all in, and hopefully the work shows. But that second sequence, when we get attacked by the 10 men, we also didn't want to cut away, because that's a kind of a cheat. You can go boop, boop, and then stop, and then do the nut. But we wanted to do it all. So you experience it, what Cyrano's experiencing, what it's like to be attacked relentlessly by 10 guys. So we shot that. We had it all mapped out. We shot that about 10 times. You forgive the scratches. You know, that's part of singing. That's your soul. It doesn't matter. Your voice isn't as important as what your soul is saying. Joe's a rare bird. He sort of, well, he lives and breathes cinema. And he truly does. I've never met anybody like that who just, he wears it on his, right here and on his sleeve. And that is what the characters in Cyrano do as well. So I think he had a very good sense of all of that. I mean, he fell in love with it when he saw the stage version of it. And that says so much. It wasn't like, what could I do with this? It was more like, I love this. I want to lift, I want to do something with this. And his movies are so, especially with our cinematographer Seamus, who did a lot of his other movies, they're so beautiful. There's such a living portrait of an era, a long gone era. You know what I mean? There's no camera trickery. It doesn't, you know, it's not that the attention span is not. It's a patient lens. And he had never done a musical before either. None of us had a movie musical. So going in, that's so exciting. The first time experience with everything. The whole sky was glowing red. And normally, when you see that in a volcano, you go away from it. We would drive towards it at the beginning of every day going. And God bless the Sicilians, the locals. They're like, she's angry today, but she's all right. She's all right. She was a she. She's a little upset, but she'll be okay. That's spewing lava. You got to worry about the earthquakes, not the lava. It's lava. And they're like, well, it goes very slow. We'll have time to evacuate. Just worry about the earthquakes. And there's like such a patience in that country of like, a volcano, it's part of life. Like, what are you going to get upset about a volcano? She's not going to go anywhere. We need to make this movie. When I fight this guy in the theater at the top, and another guy a time later, I fight a bunch of guys who attack me. And everything's super choreographed. Because you can't really get smacked. I got smacked a couple times in the head, and it really, even though they're not swords that can draw any blood, they're metal and they hit you hard. And you're into it. But, you know, those stuntmen, they don't mind getting hit. Actors mind, but they don't care. And they're so fun to work with. And I mean, more and more stunt people are now, you know, directing second units of these stunt sequences, because you know, you could be the greatest director in the world, and that's a different skill set. The choreography of a stunt, of a fight, is very different. And if you trust people like Eunice and other people that I've worked with to like sort of take over that sort of section of choreography, then that's really good and important. And Joe allowed that to happen. We joke about it, but like rivers of tears would just flow out of her and out of her nose. Because I'm sorry, when people cry, they don't just shed little tears. Stuff comes out of everywhere when you're really crying, when you're in like the depths of despair. And I would be underneath Haley during this waterfall, and it was pretty wild because I was like, her tears would literally become my tears because she would cry on me, and some other stuff would fall down that Haley and I would joke about. But no, she's just all in, and night after night, and take after take, she's capable of doing that. That's an actor, and she's such a free spirit too, much like Roxanne. You know, you just see her walking around, and she like lives in her own beautiful universe. She wore a bonnet every day in Connecticut. I was like, who wears a bonnet? She's from another time. She truly is, in the best possible sense.